We're going to take a look at a bunch of new kits for Doc Ock, Electro, female version of Electro, and then also Swarm. Joined with me is Tony Scungili. Are you pumped out of your mind for this awesomeness?
I am so ready for the new Sinister Six. I am incredibly excited as what they're going to do and how you're going to be able to use them in this game.
Yeah, they definitely is highly of interest to me. Now, we're going to start off by looking at Doc Ock's kit, and we're going to have some information there even about his speed and all kinds of good stuff. So let's go and take a look at that. I think this is going to be fascinating. I'm hoping that he's going to get use outside of the Sinister Six team. Do you think he will?
Yes, I actually think I think he's somewhat viable for end phases of Dark Dimension, assuming you are interested in Dark Dimension 3 and working through it. But I think he has a lot of raid potential too. As you look through his kit, you'll kind of see where it is.
Okay, so first things first, all of these are standardized stats, but we can take a look at the speed, which does not change from upgrading stars. He's always going to have 124 speed, and we're going to come back to why that's important, but stats are pretty much standardized. Basic attack right here, attack primary target for 320% damage, apply slow for 2 turns. That's fine. Now, this is the one where it gets crazy, right? This is where the kid gets interesting, right? And well, I'll just read this here right here. Apply 3 charged, and let's keep in mind that he's 124. Vulture will go first, but Swarm and Electro will go after him, so they will get the benefit of the charge because they're chargeable characters, up to a maximum of 10 to self and all chargeable Sinister Six allies. Wouldn't that be broken if it was all allies and didn't have the Sinister Six there? What do you think? I mean, that could break a lot of things.
Yes, please.
Oh, God.
Yes, please.
That'll come at some point. Summon...
I would put Thor on that team on principle.
Yeah, well, no kidding, right? Summon a missing Sinister Six ally from the following list, and this list is in a specific order also. Shocker, Vulture, Rhino, Green Goblin, Mysterio. If the missing Sinister Six ally is already summoned, fill that character's speed bar by 100%. Now, the footage that we saw on Friday showed Sinister 7. Explain to me the way that you think that works and how that could possibly happen.
Okay, so Cerebro has stated to not pay attention to that and that he will only summon 1 character. So you can choose to believe Cerebro on this, or you can take my idea of what this is going to do. The way I read it, and I could be wrong, is that it summons a missing Sinister Six ally from the following list. So that's the 5 characters. It checks to see if any of them are missing. If any of them are missing, it will summon that character. So say, hypothetically, you do not bring in Green Goblin, you just put Doc Ock in on that core original team. If you push the button, it will summon Green Goblin. And then it says, if the missing Sinister Six ally is already summoned, that character speed bar gets increased by 100%. What I believe is if you have less than that number of characters, so if you use the 3 new characters, and then we'll just say the last 2 characters here, Green Goblin and Mysterio, then it will summon Shocker the first time, as that's the list. And the second time you use this ability, since Shocker is no longer missing, it would summon Vulture. That's how I read it. Now, again, Cerebro said it worked differently, so you're just going to have to decide who's right and who's not.
And so there are 3 things to consider in this beta gameplay footage that was provided by Foxnex. Is 1, the way that they want it to work, the way that the kit reads, and the way that it actually works in game. Probably 3 different things. We're going to find out, right? As soon as it goes live, when we get to test this, although we don't really know what this is going to. This might be a minute before this goes live, because this is. And so the characters, in fact, are similar. The mechanic is going to work similar to that of Mr. Sinister's clones. They're going to have reduced health and damage, but they're going to share the ability levels. Is that the way that you're expecting it to be? On the summons?
I believe that, yeah, well, that's how they currently work. They kind of scale off of what he's invested in, but since they only ever had the basic, it never really mattered. Now that they have a new ability, it might get a little bit.
Okay, and then this is the ability that I'm somewhat excited for, because I believe this could work outside of Sinister Six team. Attack all enemies for 300%. Flip 2 positive effects, which that's pretty good, right? Into negative effects, and each target has all negative effects prolonged by a duration of 1, and it does damage. That's pretty great, right? That's not terrible.
The flip 2 positive effects is big. The fact that it does damage is only relevant based on his numbers, but the extend of negative effects, considering the fact that the Sinister Six does a lot of negative effects, might be huge.
Okay, yeah, especially with Swarm, because we got some clarification on the way that middle ability is going to work on Swarm. On turn, if charge, apply 1 deflect and 1 speed up to a maximum of 5 to self and all adjacent allies, then lose 1 charge. So team positioning is going to matter. And this is not where the kit gets crazy. That's cool because that actually will work outside of a Sinister Six team. Then right here, on block, heal self and all Sinister allies for 10%. And block is going to happen all the time because of the deflects, right? It's specifically in war.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And then in war, check this out. Heal for 20% instead. Now this is where I really like went, oh crap, this is gonna be great. In war, when this character or a chargeable Sinister Six ally drops below 20%, so that's gonna be the 2 new ones, right? The 2 new Sinister Six, which I believe they're gonna have to be in this team just because of this ability, at least in war. Fill that character's speed bar by 100% and clear heal block. What do you think about all that? I mean, especially if they're bouncing up and down between, only drops below 20% health. I mean, that's kind of low, right? I don't know how often that's going to happen. What do you think?
I don't think it's going to happen too often, but what I do think that's relevant, especially with this giant wall of text, is paying attention to what affects chargeable Sinister Six allies, what affects generic Sinister Six allies, and what just happens for any character. Right. Because some of them seem like they're incredibly relevant on his team, much like characters like Magneto, and then other things just seem like they're all around great. So like the blocks, that's pretty relevant.
Okay. And then right here, clear heal block. Yeah, that's good. And then in war, gain 15% damage. Chargeable Sinister Six allies get a super boost right there. 20% block chance. And then right here, this is just straight up Sinister Six, rather where before I would say chargeable Sinister Six, which means this team could grow quite a bit if they introduce new chargeable Sinister Six, right? I mean, that's kind of the idea, I think, of this, is that we're going to have to buy something else later.
In theory, like there's plenty of Sinister Six characters. They could technically release them forever. Yeah. But yeah, I do believe that this means we're going to start seeing some more of them.
Okay. And then block chance, Sinister Six allies gain 20% block chance, max health, Sinister Six gain max health. And then this, I'm quite, because this is a universal ability right here. Gain 10,000% resistance to offense down, and all allies gain that. And it's not specific to Sinister Six or even anything, right? It's just him being on the team. He's going to have that, and he's also going to have that amazing ultimate ability, right? And give them speed up and all that good stuff when they're adjacent.
Yeah, I mean, if you ignore the Sinister Six feature, the 10,000 resist against offense down, like that's incredibly relevant in like maybe specific raid nodes or soon to come raid nodes. So there's a lot of situations where you can see that offense down being applied won't actually affect any of the characters in your team, and that's a really strong ability.
All right, let's go to Electro, because I think this is the character that made me like. I think Swarm is okay, and Swarm is going to be a campaign character, so we're going to get Swarm. But Electro baffles me how awesome she is, right?
Oh my god.
Yeah.
I think that they really buried the lead when they showed us Doc Ock and Swarm early and didn't show us this monster.
Yeah. So she's 120 speed, and that's important that she's going to go because the charge mechanic on this, specifically in war, is like a single burst Thor ability, and it's going to go off constantly in war, and that's in the passive. So the passive is crazy. Plus, she's got this middle ability that's a straight up tank killer. Basic attack primary target for 250% damage, plus field speed ball for self for 20%. That's pretty okay, I guess. I wonder what the assist is like on that, but I'm sure it's cut down a little bit. But this is the ability that blew our minds, right?
Yeah, the first ability was Q. This is the ability that I've dubbed the Cull Obsidian Killer.
Yeah. So this is 3-3. The first hit is pretty standard. Bonus attack for 150% damage per positive effect on target. How many positive effects does Cull get? My God.
Depending on how low he is, you have the Ebony Maw buffs. You have quite a bit of death proofs that can stack up, and they do count independently. It doesn't just count the stack of death proofs, as you've seen with characters who do this, like Ultimus previously.
Yep.
So really, the only worry is if defense up is one of those buffs, you don't do as much damage, but she also gets a pretty decent amount of piercing from other abilities, which we'll see as we go on.
She's going to get piercing from her charge, and we'll get to that in the passive. Now, this is Chain Lightning. Attack primary target for 350% piercing. Apply offense down for 2 turns. And this kid is bonkers, by the way. attack all other enemies for 280% piercing, apply offense down for 2 turns, and that is fine. But this is where it goes crazy right here. In war, clear all positive effects on the primary target and clear 2 positive effects on each secondary target. That's fine. This is where I went, oh snap, right here is when I read the amount of focus she gets on this. 100,000 extra focus. Now that's not the percent, but that's still pretty good. This attack cannot be
it was never
counterattacked.
percent even when they wrote it. Remember typos?
Yeah, I know. Well, some of them are, some of them aren't. It's really annoying, actually. Like. Anyways, we won't get into that. That's a discussion we've had many times. What do you think of this ability right here?
It's ready on turn 1. That's literally the only thing I can say about it that isn't clearly amazing. You know, like that's something someone might miss. Like you could just do this. And on AI, she will just do this. That's huge.
Okay. Now let's move on to the super exciting part of the kit. Now keep in mind, she's gonna get 3 charges from Doc Ock. It says on turn, gain 1 charge up to a maximum of 5. In war, on ally Sinister Six turn, which includes summons like Mysterio and so on, gain 1 charge up to a maximum of 5. Crazy, right? And then this is this mini Thor ability right here. At the end of any turn, if this character has 5 or more charge, attack the most injured enemy for 300% damage and lose 5 charge. So this potentially could go off before she even takes a turn. Because if you got Vulture going faster than her, you've got Doc Ock giving her 3. He summons somebody, maybe, and then she takes her turn. And this is going to go off at the end of every turn if she's got 5 or more, right? Bonkers, crazy.
It works exactly like Thor. You know, Thor works the exact same way. When at the end of whatever the turn it is, whenever Thor gets his passive charged, he moves up. So, you know, in that, you don't really notice it because Thor only gains charges when you hit a person, but it happens sometimes on counterattacks, you know. Basically, the way this is going to work, especially on war offense or defense, is the first action she's going to take because Vulture goes first and hits somebody, which means he took a turn, which means she got a buff. The second thing that's going to happen is Doc Ock is going to summon somebody and create, an extra turn charge for her and give her the extra. So she immediately gets 5 charges before she even takes a turn.
Right.
So at the end of Doc Ock's turn, she's going to immediately use this ability. Then you have whatever happens after, and every time a character, including herself, takes a turn, this is specifically in war, by the way, then she will keep doing that. It happens all the time. And the first time it happens after Doc Ock takes his first action, and it's ridiculous.
Yep, it's bonkers. And then we've also took into fact that there's a possibility where she would have more than 5 charges, and then it would pop off, and then her piercing would be through the roof if that happened, right? Like if Doc Ock gave her, like she had 4, and then Doc Ock took his middle and summoned somebody else, and then suddenly she's gonna have like 9, more, like 4. It's gonna be crazy. It's absolutely insane how good this could potentially be. Are you excited about this, Tony? Pretty excited?
She is, of this entire patch, she is the most exciting character, including Doc Ock, that I think is coming out.
Now, Swarm is a little more straightforward. He does have the charge, so there's lots of extra synergy there with Doc Ock. I know that you're a little on the fence on this guy, and there was a question on how his middle ability worked, but we actually had footage, and we'll show that at the end of the video in Raid, that it actually shows that it applies all those abilities. No armor, but that goes with the B, has high health. He's going to gain health back. Main thing right here is his speed's 119, so he's going to go after Doc Ock and Vulture and Electro. But it still seems like a pretty good kit, right? I mean, I'm pretty excited about this. Attack primary target for 200% damage, drain, rebound chain 2 adjacent targets for 180% damage, 50% drain. 50% drain is pretty high, right?
50% drain is what I'd call the literal least amount of drain to make it relevant. Every time you see a character with like 10 or 20% drain, and there's more than enough, it's like, whatever. 50% drain, at least you're getting half of your damage out. And considering this fact that this character is probably going to hit pretty hard,
right?
It makes sense.
And because of getting that charge from Doc Ock early, he's pretty much going to have charge through most of the match until the team is kind of fell apart. Now, this is something that we had a question about. Then we actually saw the footage. And the way that you interpret it was correct. Primary damage for 250%. Apply disrupted. If that disrupted sticks, which we have footage of, then it attacks again and applies defense down. If the defense down sticks, attack again and apply slow. We weren't sure about that, but that's what the footage shows, right?
Yeah. So there's two different ways you could read it. I always read it as if it was did disrupt stick, cool, next attack. Did defense down stick, cool, next attack. You know,
Right.
I never read it as like the characters had to have those abilities on them, mostly because no one else disrupts on the Sinister Six. You know, so I just kind of read it that way.
All right, attack all enemies for damage. Apply bleed for 2 turns. If charged, do charge, fine. And then that's a pretty straightforward ability. This is a relatively simple kit. The AI is going to play this correctly. And then we've got the passive right here. On spawn, gain 4 charge. Plus he's going to get charged from Doc Ock. And then he's going to be losing it every time he takes a turn. Or it's going to be, I don't know what a B is. In turn, if charged, heal 20% of this character's max health and flip 2 negative effects to positive effects. And then he's got 3% dodge chance per charge, which is hopefully not enough to be annoying. Then we want to talk about Mysterio buff real quick, because there was some information that was put out to the public based on speculation, and it looks like it's actually different than we initially saw, because a lot of people were saying that there was going to be a total of 3 summons, but that is not the case. The footage only shows 2 mirror images. One of them will be special, and the special one will have the ability to revive Mysterio. So a lot of people don't like Mysterio. Make a case for why Mysterio is going to be awesome.
So the most important thing, and you'll see it right there, focus for self and Spider-Verse allies. That's the thing that's going to matter the most. Giving them boosted focus, considering the fact that all of them have debuffs in their kit, is going to be very relevant. He has a handful of additional abilities. I'm really looking at him and the Sinister Six team as a war defense team.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things I like the most is when you see his summon and the fact that he dies, the summons come up, and one of them has the ability to resummon him. So you no longer could just be like, he's dead, those summons don't do anything. You kind of have to take them out before they gain enough. I think it's 2 turns it takes them, whichever one gets it, to summon him back, because then he comes back, right. And you could have an additional Mysterio summon.
So let's just talk about what happened. Let's just talk about what happened on the screen right there. And I know it's a little bit delayed for you, but Doc Ock went first, summoned Shocker, then Electro went and put offense down another team. And then what we're going to see right here is that I believe we're going to see that ability from Swarm right here. And look at it, it's going to hit Hand Sentry, and then all of those negative effects are going to apply. Disrupted, defense down, and then slow. So it all stuck. That's pretty fantastic, right?
Oh yeah, that was a pretty decent chunk of damage. I mean, granted, we don't necessarily know how strong that guy is, but that was a pretty decent chunk of damage for a special.
Yeah. Okay, so we're gonna just speculate for like 1-2 minutes here, and we're gonna wrap up the video. What team do you want to try first, and how do you see them being in war, offense or defense?
I think it really depends on where you are. You know, if you're in a war series where you're seeing a lot of teams like defenders, I think the new version of this team actually does a really good job of taking them out. But when you get maybe a little bit harder where it's important to have a strong defense, I think they really start to shine, especially if you can afford to invest a little bit more into them than the average character. I don't see them as a team in raids that often, but I do think maybe individual parts of them might work together for stuff like that.
Right.
And then, of course, there's always Dark Dimension 3, but whatever.
Yeah, and so they did provide footage of the new Sinister Six against Mercs. Now, I can't tell. I think this is war. I mean, I don't know if the war bonuses are up. I don't think that. I'm hoping that this will be a more consistent counter. I understand that X-Force is a counter to Mercs, but, you know, sometimes I got fluke losses. I hope there. Do you think this might be another counter to Mercs? I mean, just what do you think? I have no idea.
It would be really bad form if they showed this team fighting the Mercs and then they can't beat them. So I think that at the very least they have the potential to beat the Mercenaries if you need another team that can beat the Mercenaries or the first one.
Yep. All right. Well, let me know what you think in the comment section if you're excited. Swarm is going to be a campaign event. No word on Electro. And then when do you think the doc op, which requires 5-star X-Force, do you have a timeline on that? I can't remember when they said that was going to come out.
I believe they said it would happen this month.
Yeah, it has to happen this patch because it's going to be in the probably going to show up in
or
our.
Was it September? September, I think, maybe the first thing in September. He's probably going to be put somewhere in between the Maw and then whoever the next character is.
Yeah. Okay. So the patch we're expecting to go live tomorrow or the next day, probably most likely tomorrow. Come hang out with us because we're going to try to find out the way that it actually works, and we're speculating right now. Anything you want to say before you go?
Nope.
All right, guys. Let us know what you think in the comment section. And as always, thanks for watching and keep on gaming.